Good morning. It's only 5:15 in the morning. Sunrise is 10 to 6. I'm down at Loch Ness this morning. I made a new floating hide. So I'm down, only finished it last night. It's a lot lighter than my old one, which is what I was aiming for. So I'm down here this morning. There's a wee ripple on the loch, but it's not too bad. There's the hide kinda there. But I'll show you more of that whenever it gets a bit more light. I'll get organised and get out here now. I see ducks and stuff out there already, so I'll get in and see what this works out like and update you in a wee while again. Hi again. I'm going to be hard to see here because it's dark in here and it's still only getting light outside, but I'll do another bit whenever it gets a wee bit later. I'm just into the water here now. As I said, it's a new hide. This one's made of polystyrene and a piece of ply screwed to it, so it's very light. It's fairly steady. It floats really well. It's the same stuff as like paddle boards and whatnot are made of, so it should be very floaty as such. It's nearly floating too high in the water. I might have to see what I can do to get the camera lowered down another inch or two. My last one, I had to put stops at it to stop the camera from tilting forward because when I tilted into the water it was so low. But anyway, we'll see what way this works. I wanted something lighter that I could put on the kayak and paddle round to a few places where it had been hard to get the last one. It was fairly heavy and slightly bigger. But I think this is big enough. It's a few inches smaller each way than the last one. There's a wee ripple on the loch this morning. Sometimes you can get it really flat. But as I said, we'll give this a go. So we need to see how it works. There's no light this morning. It's going to be grey, cloudy, overcast. So it's just really to see how this floats. And I haven't used the other floating hide since last summer almost, so I wanted to get back into it again. It gets you some nice photos that you'd have bothered getting anywhere else. I heard the cuckoo calling there this morning. I'm down at Mahray on the shores of Loch Ness, and the cuckoo's calling out somewhere over to my right, which is kind of cool. There's mirrorhead and water hens and stuff calling now too. Lots of stuff starting to wake up. So and there's a heron coming in. So I'll move on across a bit. You can move slowly. You can get fairly close to stuff without it realising. I'll show you the outside of this when I'm getting out of the water. It's just camouflage tarpaulin covered in a camouflage net to break it up a bit. So if you move slowly and carefully, you can get fairly close to stuff. Right, there's a wee water hen heading out there. I'll move a bit here and see what I can find, see if I can get any photos at all in this grey light, and get back to you in a wee while. There's a gull on top of my hide. Flapping round and round and round, and land on it. You hear the call just right above my head. There's 3 tufted ducks here I'm working my way towards. Kind of going slowly as if I'm going past them, getting slowly closer to them at the same time. You can't really just approach something straight head on. And then there's a couple of shell duck further on across as well. So I'm seeing if I can get close to either of those. There's the gull away again. Right, let's go. There's the tufted duck that I talked about. We're moving there and then away on across somewhere. Way over there. Oh. is the shell duck, so that's kind of what I'm heading towards slowly at the minute. Our biggest job now will be keeping them safe from herons and gulls and all that kind of stuff. Look at the goose on. That is intent on eating them, unfortunately. Right, I'll try to show you what's going on here. There's my camera, there's the water. It's kind of ready looking with the sand. And the hide kind of fits around me like a U shape, so this is the piece in front. Camera's mounted there on a small tilt head, hard to see but I'll show you in daylight. And there's a hole in the front there, and then I have a couple of holes here and the same at this side that I can peer out of. Camera's about 7 or 8 inches off the water. As I said, my older height I had it slightly lower, but then it's dangerous when it's lower. But I'll see, I'll maybe work out a way of getting it down a little bit. Round Loch Ness here, the water's only where I'm sitting. I suppose it's not much more than 2'6" deep, so at that point I'm sitting on my knees actually in waders. You couldn't go a lot deeper and still sit in your knees, but you can work in water up to 4 foot deep, and then at that stage you're standing. And for moving about, I stand up, have a wee bit of height here, you know, so even if the water's only 2 foot or 2'6" deep, I can still stand up and walk. As you can see by the bouncing here, you need very, very little wind. Forecast this morning was for 2 miles an hour wind, and I thought I could cope with that alright, but it just shows you I've been down different mornings last year. And I'll actually put a few photographs up from last year because I'm going to get nothing decent here this morning. I'll put a few up just to show you what you can get from something like this. I'm watching the forecast for tomorrow morning again. There's a place I'd like to go to in the kayak. And there's another place, a bit of a walk, but at least now when this is so light, I'm able to carry it a bit, so I'll see what tomorrow morning's like. One of the areas is a wee sheltered bay, so even a wee bit of breeze, it might be okay. The other place is on around the coast of Loch Ness here, but there's no access to it really. So I was going to go around the kayak and take the hide with me. So we'll see what happens tomorrow morning, but as I said this morning, there's a wee bit of breeze and it is cloudy and overcast. The sun has risen at this stage, but it's still grey. There's no sign of sunlight at all. So, but at least I achieved what I wanted to achieve, to come down, and this does work. It's light, it's handy put together. So at least I know that. I'll add a few photographs here from last year just so that you can see, and I'm sure I'll make a video or two from this as the season goes on. Now that I'm back in the water again. I have a couple of leaks in these waders. I tried to patch them last year. I can tell you it hasn't worked. I'm getting wet here at the moment, so these were only a cheap pair of waders off eBay at the time, so maybe I'll invest in something a little bit better that'll last me a long time. Right, I'll see what else appears here and get back to you if anything interesting happens. Right, that's me back to shore, or near enough the shore here in Mahara. There's what the hide looks like from the outside. It's just floating away there itself. Let's see, turn it around. There's the front of it. The camera pointing out at the bottom. I suppose it's what, 4, maybe 5 inches. I have a couple of different ways of mounting it there. I moved it slightly lower. You see the breeze is just drifting in towards the shore on its own. You can see the ripples on the loch there, and that's what just makes it hard to photograph. Right, I get this out onto the shore and head back round to the van, maybe pull the cover off it, and you can see how it was put together. But I think it blends in fairly well there, and if you're moving slowly or even you find a good spot and sit and wait, it's amazing how close stuff will come to you, you know. So there's a few spots out there where there's old trees that fell, the ducks and whatnot like to get up onto it now and again, so if you get somewhere close to that, it's always a good spot. I caught the hare in there last year, catching an eel off one of those. I got some good video and photographs and stuff of it, so it is worth the bother. Right, I get this out and get these waders off me and show it to you quickly just with the cover and whatnot off. Right, that's the hide out of the water. It sits about 3 foot tall altogether. Cover, that's the front. There's a hole there at the front for the camera, and then the back. It's loose that you can lift it up, and the easiest way nearly is to kneel down in the water in your waders and then just slide it back over your head, you know. I don't know how I can set this down anywhere I've no stand. Hold on, let's see. Let's stand like that. Right. I'll pull the cover off. Just sit on it. That's just as simply as it pulls apart. They're just water pipes and then water pipe fittings. I have the cover made. There's a camouflage tarpaulin with the net. They're attached to each other, and you just pull over the top of it. And then what's left here, that's it all. Just and you can just have 4 holes bored in the 4 corners that 20mm pipe pushes into, and then that's this room, obviously for me to be in the middle of it as it's floating. I have a wee cheap ball head mounted there. I mount the GoPro on that, and then here I either have, I'm gonna tighten that up, I had it loosened there a minute ago. That's a tilt head of just as a monopod tilt head. You can have that you have a bit of movement, or to get slightly lower, I just have that mounting plate there for the tripod foot on the camera, and that's a couple inches lower than that, so it gives you that little bit lower perspective. And simple as that. As I said, it was just made out of foam insulation, one sheet 4 inches thick, and then a piece of 5mm ply on top of it just to strengthen it a bit, and then the whole thing wrapped in black tape. It's supposed to be black waterproof tape. I wasn't really worried about the waterproof, it's just to hold the whole thing together and protect the foam a bit, because that's foam right along the bottom. And you can lift the whole thing one-handed, you know, it's no weight at all compared to what the last one was. That's about the height of it there. It's about 4 foot high or so. I think it's slightly less than 4 foot, 3 foot wide. Again, slightly less maybe. And it's easy, well, I have a van, so it's easy stuck into the van, even completely built up. Or it's quickly took apart, and that's what I'm hoping to. I tried it last night, just testing to stick it on the kayak, you know, so that'll sit on the back of the kayak with a bungee cord over it, and then everything else sort of fits into a rucksack along with my waders. I don't want to be kayaking in waders, but I can change into my waders, and I have my camera then in a waterproof bag and go into the kayak, so it should hold the whole thing. And that's looking out on Loch Ness, a bit of break in the clouds there, but as you see the ripples in the water, it's very hard to keep the camera steady. But the other calm mornings, at least I know this works. As I only finished it yesterday, so that was my first test with it this morning. This Coney Island out there in the distance, just under that bright bit of sky. So that's me done here. I get all packed into the van. I heard the cuckoo this morning, so I might take a walk across here. There's a wee bit of a walk. It's only a few hundred meters long. And see if there's anything about before I head home. Right, thanks for watching.